Hello, friends, and thank you for joining us here on the WFMY Facebook page for a little thing we like to call After GMS. I'm Megan Malaris here in studio with Tracy McCain, Duran Kirksey, Stacey Spivey working from home, and Ed Matthews is out in the gorgeous weather garden.
Yeah, I feel like after a stretch of days of not really much to talk about, finally, and this is in the worst terms possible, Delta is strengthened to a major hurricane, but could bring some rain our way. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things like great now, but what's coming up later?
Yeah, you always got to watch what's coming down the line when it comes with the weather, for sure. We're taking a quick look at the 7-day forecast there for you. And again, not a whole lot happening in the short term. You see that as we look at today and tomorrow, we're going to see plenty of sunshine. We'll see high temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s. And then eventually we will start to see the cloud cover increase and our rain chances increase as we watch Delta start to get a little bit closer to us. So let's show you what's happening with that system right now as we open up the graphic here for you. There it is right there. It is a major hurricane, max sustained winds at 110 miles per hour right now. Yesterday, it was knocking at the doorstep of almost becoming a Category 5 hurricane. And we're going to continue to watch it as it moves on into the Yucatan Peninsula. Past that, eventually it will start to curve back to the north, and it could make landfall along the locations along the Louisiana border there as we go on into Friday, right anywhere really between southeast Texas all the way to the Alabama coastline. Probably need to keep a close eye on this one as we go into Friday, and then eventually it'll start to curve more to the north and east as we head through the weekend. And that's why we have that higher rain chance for ourselves as we go from Saturday on into Sunday. Right now, it looks like the center of circulation probably will pass well to our west, but even when we have tracks like that, sometimes we can get a little extra spin in the atmosphere that could produce a severe storm or two. So we'll have to watch for that. Otherwise, we're mainly focused on the increased rain chances for the weekend. So let's show you that 7-day forecast one more time here. Again, not a whole lot happening today and tomorrow, but as we go into the weekend, we'll watch for that chance of rain, and then the rain chances get out of here as we go on into early next week. That's a quick look at your 7-day forecast.
All right, so our big story this morning, North Carolina is seeing a spike in COVID-19 cases after weeks of decline. The state says the number of new cases per day is ticking up. Not what we want to hear, but Stacey, let's get right to what the data says and what everyone is talking about.
Yeah, this morning we are talking about this and want to know if your habits have changed since we moved into phase 3. And we asked this because Governor Roy Cooper says he's concerned about the direction that things are going. And let's go ahead and show you those new numbers right now. DHHS reported 1,504 new cases of coronavirus Tuesday. The percentage of positive test results is averaging 5.7% over the last 2 weeks. And right now, 1,013 people are hospitalized. Health officials say it's too early to see how phase 3 of reopening will affect these numbers, but we do know the governor's current executive order expires in 2.5 weeks, and leaders will be tracking these trends to decide what happens next. So we're talking about what has changed as far as your habits go during phase 3, if they've changed at all. As I mentioned on the Good Morning show, I kind of let my guard down a little bit once we moved into phase 3. I looked at the numbers, everything that, our state health officials are saying is, hey, we're looking good as far as numbers go. And so this weekend I went to the Science Center, which still wore a mask and followed every guideline that they have in place. But I let my guard down a little bit, and I think from these numbers going back up, well, it's kind of made me realize maybe I should put that guard back up. But I want to see what you guys have to say about this.
Right, as I mentioned earlier, and I love the fact that everyone is commenting already, I haven't let my guard down at all. We're still wearing masks and, of course, practicing safety and hygiene, good hygiene. But we have enjoyed going out in phase 2.5 to the Children's Museum, which was closed for 6 months. Simone's dance class is back on track. So, even, some youth sports are starting to get underway again. So, I mean, with safety precautions in place, of course, and they're doing such a great job with it, I feel comfortable enough to, take my child or my children places. But of course, I'm very watchful about what they're touching and what they're doing. And we're washing hands constantly just to make sure that stuff doesn't come back to the house. But, you can't not let your children enjoy things. You know what I mean? We did it for so long, just kind of keeping them sheltered. And there was a point where it was like, okay, the governor is relaxing things, maybe we can relax places that we go, but not necessarily how we go about, our daily safety precautions. So that's kind of where we are. My daughter loves wearing a mask now. She thinks it's like a Halloween costume.
It's a fashion statement.
Clearly, she has pink and green.
Hey, what other colors do you need? Those are perfect.
No other.
Yeah, I'm so diligent about wearing my masks. My whole family has been diligent about wearing masks. However, I have a 9-month-old son who cannot wear a mask, and so we are super cautious about that. Still have been sticking with primarily outside activities, although as the weather gets colder, we're going to have to make some decisions if we want to still continue to be able to have any kind of life outside of our house. But of course, keeping in line with those guidelines from the CDC and the mask mandates in effect. And I can't tell you the number of hand sanitizer bottles we have gone through in the past 6.5 months now. So obviously for us, not much has changed, but it does seem like more people are out and about. I saw a lot of people out at restaurants lately. We are still doing outside dining only at off times to avoid large crowds. But it does seem like life is moving on. But for the most part, as far as what I've seen, and I know some of these commenters are disagreeing with that, I've seen everybody wearing a mask places that I've been. So that's been encouraging here for me. What about you, Ed Matthews?
I have also, the places that I've been, the few places that I've been out in public, I'm seeing people for the most part wear masks, and things have not really changed for me. I still got my guard up. I'm still careful. I'm still social distancing and doing all of the necessary protocol to be careful.
Yeah, it's safety first, Taran Kirksey. I don't know if you've been doing much at all, but I know that you are extra, precautious during this time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, there are a whole lot of people that know way more about medicine and infectious diseases than I do. I mean, if they suggest that I need to wear a mask and stay socially distant, then that's what I'm going to do until I'm at the point where I've learned enough to be able to walk into a medical lab and do medical research that could be accepted into a medical journal. Until that happens, I'm going to follow the advice of the people that know what they're talking about. So I've been doing that, and even after the pandemic is over, I'll probably continue to social distance for the rest of my days here on this beautiful planet Earth, because it's been nice to have extra space between folks where you're at restaurants and stuff. That's been good for me, but we'll see how things do shake out. I had to throw the little joke in there at the end because that's how I roll.
That's how you cope. It's a laughing, coping mechanism.
That is what I do.
All right, so not always a laughing matter on our feed here, Stacey. People have lots of things to say. A lot of people agree with, everyone saying, hey, it's time to get out and do some more things, but others are saying, not so fast. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. So what specifically are you seeing?
Well, Sharia says no changes here. People are not still wearing a mask. And Jody says, nope, I've been living my life as usual, but responsible since this insanity started. And Heather said that she lost her mother-in-law to the virus. And she said that really changes you when you lose a close family member and see them suffer. You'll put your guard back up. And Heather, of course, we are so sorry for your loss, and our thoughts and prayers go out to you and your family during this time. Nita said, not really, except to say that my eating healthier habits has changed somewhat. Well, that's some good news. Let's see. Nita says, she was responding to another person, my bad. Jackie said, if you care about others, wear a mask. If you don't, then don't, and stay away from people, please.
Yeah, and just one note here about phase 3. We could be starting to see some kind of an impact from phase 3, which went into effect Friday. but we are not going to see the bulk of it, if any, for another 2 weeks, potentially, because remember, it can take 14 days for symptoms to present themselves, and then an additional 2 days if you get tested at that 14-day mark for your test results to come back. The molecular tests are averaging about 2 days from the time you actually get the swab to the time the DHHS processes your result as positive or negative. So keep that in mind as we continue this phase, continue to be cautious and listen to the health experts and the guidance in place. Remember that mask mandate does remain in effect.
Yeah, every time I post something about numbers, there's some really good points that come up about, testing errors and miscalculations, misreporting. Some days where there's no reporting and other days where there's an abundance of reporting or mistakes at the lab. So those are really good points as well, because, at this point, it hasn't been consistently, error-free, since they started tracking the number of cases. So that's also a very good point. But at the same time, I know, Megan, you track the numbers and you look at them daily, and if it shows an uptick, you'd be the first person to know and tell us.
Yeah, and I admit I share your frustration when you hear about yet another technical error or a delay in the labs. You say, well, how can we trust the numbers if stuff like this is happening? I get it. So we can do our best to try to at least be transparent about the situation based on what we know from the state health department. So for example, there was another issue with a technical glitch this week on the DHHS reporting site. That was October 4th. It made the cases lower than they should have been for Sunday. And then the inflated numbers were reflected in Monday when the state played catch up and put in those missing numbers with the Monday numbers. So we do our best to try to at least tell you as it is how it's happening and give you the metrics that are not, for example, affected by testing, like the number of people in the hospitals. So, we are doing our best as well, but certainly we share your concerns with those numbers, and we do our best, just know, to try to get them right for you.
Yeah, and that's what we can all hope for at this point. All right, guys, thanks for weighing in on this conversation. We have another, it's a big debate about drive-thrus and which has the faster and which has the slowest service. So if you want a real debate, stick around for that, because the food wars is about to get going here on After GMS.
For sure. So leave a comment, and for now, let's get to your morning headlines. President Donald Trump says he is doing well and feeling better this morning as he continues his recovery from COVID-19. His doctor reports he is no longer feeling symptoms. Yesterday was his first full day back at the White House after spending the weekend at Walter Reed Medical Center getting treatment. At that time, more White House staff has tested positive, including one of the president's top aides, Stephen Miller. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany also tested positive. And yesterday, top military leaders started working from home after they reported being exposed to coronavirus. Vice President Mike Pence and U.S. Senator Kamala Harris will go head-to-head in Salt Lake City tonight. It is the first and only scheduled vice presidential debate. Plexiglass shields will be between them as an added precaution, and their seats will be 12 feet apart. You can watch that debate here on News 2 starting at 9 tonight.
Here in North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper says the state is expanding assistance for child care facilities. Child care facilities are now able to apply for state grants up to $35 million, now available statewide. North Carolina is also expanding testing. State Health Secretary Dr. Mandy Cohen says 200,000 rapid antigen tests are coming to the state from the federal government. The tests will be distributed to 52 counties considered high priority. Rapid tests are free, and some tests are going to schools and other facilities that are experiencing outbreaks. We have new photos of what the Panthers' new headquarters and practice facility will look like once built in Rock Hill, South Carolina. The complex is set to include offices, indoor and outdoor practice fields, an entertainment district with residential space and retail stores too. The first phase is set to open in 2023.
The statistics are alarming. Firefighters responded to about 1.3 million fires in the U.S. last year. Well, that's all according to the National Fire Protection Association. Those fires caused roughly 3,700 deaths and more than 16,000 reported injuries. Statistics also show home fires were reported every 93 seconds. fire officials say unattended cooking is the #1 cause of home fires and injuries. And for that reason, this year's National Fire Prevention Week campaign is titled Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen. It's geared towards educating everyone about cooking safety. That includes making sure adults stay in the kitchen and keeping the area around the oven a child-free zone.
You also want to make sure that you have your stovetop clear of any combustibles, which means anything that can catch fire, such as the box with the directions of what you're cooking, any kind of utensils, oven mitts, dish towels, paper towels, spices sitting along the back of the stove. All of that is a problem. We want to make sure that that's clear from the stove.
Statistics show you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape a home fire. That's after the smoke alarm rings. And for that reason and more, fire officials say now is the time to make sure that you have an emergency plan in place. For more details, all you have to do is visit our website, WFMYnews2.com.
Now it's time to get to another trending conversation this morning. Over the summer, a company was watching to see how fast food restaurants were doing during the pandemic and how they were handling things. So as I tell you more about the results, I want you right now to write on our feed and let us know what your experience has been with fast food restaurants during this time. Of course, just keep weighing in. We're going to take a look at those comments in just a bit. But the quick service restaurant drive-through study is an annual report by a market research company. This summer, they looked at fast food chains like Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Taco Bell, and Burger King, just to name a few. Chick-fil-A was ranked as the most popular fast food joint, but also the slowest. And they were ranked #1 in 3 out of the 4 categories, including accuracy, customer service, and taste. If you're wondering who was the fastest fast food restaurant, that title goes to KFC. Really interesting to see those results. And like I mentioned on the feed, Tarand and I may fight about who has the best chicken, but I'm just going to say I've noticed Chick-fil-A, their lines have been extra long during this pandemic. I personally will wait any amount of time just to eat their nuggets or their chicken mini biscuits. I could just go on, and now I just want to go to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly been experiencing the drive-through more often lately because that's what baby wants. And I get baby what baby. Notice I'm not saying he or she because we haven't been able to tell everybody yet, but baby wants what baby gets, or vice versa. Anyway, and I have to say, I know Chick-fil-A's line is very long, but the product at the end is so well worth it to me. And not every fast food place guarantees that, you know, delicious flavored chicken. You know, it's just not the same. So I will wait in line 20, 30 minutes if I have to, but they do like get you through as soon as possible. And I'm always impressed with how many staff they have out there working for a single shift, especially during those high traffic times like, you know, dinner and lunchtime. There are always like 20 people out there. So I think they're doing their best that they can with the high demand.
Oh yeah, I was super impressed with our own Chick-fil-A experience this past Saturday. I admit we really do not frequent fast food restaurants, but we did drive through a Chick-fil-A because my son was asleep in his car seat. We thought this was going to be the easiest way to get dinner on a Saturday night, but we waited about 24 minutes in line. And at first I was like, are we sure we want to do this? But once you get up to the actual window where you order, they have the little iPads where they're taking your order and then doing the remote checkout with the credit cards. I mean, it was super easy, and honestly, you could not get nicer people than the one at Brassfield here in Greensboro. So shout out to them. We had excellent service there. My cookout experience has been the norm during the pandemic. Cookout milkshakes are kind of our Sunday routine. We go for a hike and then eat back all the calories we just burned off on the hike by getting, you know, some fast food from Cookout. So that's been our guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I like the shakes. The peach milkshake is my favorite. All right, Ed Matthews, we were, you know, making fun of, you know, Chick-fil-A being a part of your blood. Because you're North Carolina born and raised, but you know, it's just, there's something about it.
Yeah, it not only is it good, but they do have the process of drive-through down pat. They're very well organized, and you can get through a 20-car line really pretty quickly. don't do a lot of drive-through for fast food except for breakfast. And I mentioned earlier on the Good Morning Show, I waited about 12 minutes yesterday for a chicken biscuit at a location not far from the station. And they were very apologetic about it. So, you know, that was very cool, and I certainly understand and appreciate that. And I used to get, you know, egg on my biscuit, you know, like a ham and egg, sausage egg. I just skip the egg because about 30% of the time the egg never makes it on the biscuit. And I don't see it until I get home. Now, I'm not going to slam these fast food restaurants because they're working hard to get people through the line. But those are exceptions. For the most part, I've had great experiences going through the drive-through at a fast food restaurant.
Yeah, and Stacy and Taran, I don't know if you guys have been texting back and forth like a fight or what's going on here. I saw on the feed it says like Taran and I might fight over this. So what's that about? What's going on?
Well, I mean, I'm again not gonna say what restaurants that I'm referring to, but you know, when it comes to just purely chicken, I feel like one is not seasoning their chicken to the level that my grandma back in Alabama would have seasoned her chicken like the other fast food restaurant does that makes it delicious. So that's all I'm saying. But I will say this, going back to Chick-fil-A, the efficiency that they have with getting people through the line is just a thing of beauty. I mean, if they were in charge of toilet paper, we never would have ran out back in, you know, April. We would have been just fine. Everyone would have had what they needed, and everyone would have been happy, and they would have given you your roll of toilet paper with a smile, and it would have been just absolutely glorious. That's all.
Wow, the analogy there.
If you ever need an analogy or an analogy or some type of, you know, description, go to Taran.
Yeah, or toilet paper, evidently.
Apparently, that too.
Oh my, too much fun for one day.
Yeah. So what are people saying? Are they saying Chick-fil-A is, you know, has great service? Are they agreeing with, you know, some other people about the long lines and not being worth it? A lot of people talking about that peach milkshake, which I love.
Yum, yum. Oreo mint is my fave.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of people giving Chick-fil-A some praise, rightfully so. Taran, you couldn't see me, but I was rolling my eyes at you. No bad blood. No bad blood at all. I just like my chicken. Okay. Sharia says she loves Zaxby's on Eugene Street and Chick-fil-A. And Bobby said, I think Chick-fil-A is the best in all 4 categories. Zyrus brought up a good point. She said she tried Uber Eats for the first time. She said glad to get some fast food without having to leave the house, but sweet baby Jesus, did it take forever to get back to the house. Oh my goodness. I've had the same issue. It takes like an hour. So it's like, okay, might as well go wait in the hour-long line at Chick-fil-A to get your food.
That is funny.
I've not tried Uber Eats yet. Heather is cracking me up. She says, not the missing egg, Ed Matthews. How can you miss the egg?
If you pay for it, it should be on the sandwich.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, there's some at my house. My son is not a fan of eggs and is throwing them on the floor. So, if you want an egg, I'll fix you one.
Thank you.
My friend Dana said, goes to order Chick-fil-A breakfast in the app. So that's one way to get around it all, right? Order in the app, go park, and they bring it to your car. I think it's amazing, and why we didn't do this centuries ago, well, maybe not centuries, but at least a decade ago, I don't know.
All right, well, now that we've worked up an appetite, we are having fond thoughts of savoring some delicious fast food for lunch. We need a forecast to match. Maybe we eat it outside today.
Yeah, I think that's a great plan. Lunch hour outdoors today. Fantastic weather. We're on our way to the lower 80s and pretty close to that tomorrow, upper 70s. Now, a cold front does move through tomorrow. It's going to be a dry front, and eventually the atmosphere will start to cool off a little bit, and we'll start to see some clouds build, especially on Friday afternoon out ahead of the remnant low of course, a very powerful Hurricane Delta. It'll be dry on Friday, near 70, And then we think that remnant low is going to pass up through the Tennessee Valley. It'll be close enough to the Piedmont to bring some rain to our area, probably sometime Saturday afternoon into Sunday based on the timing right now, and then we'll get the rain out of here and start to clear things up by early next week.
Lunch outside, anything outside. I'll even play with the kids outside today. Yeah. There was a few days last week I was like, no, children. It's too cold.
Too cold.
Too cold. But today and yesterday and the day before have been really great days.
Yeah.
So got to soak it in before the weekend because that's when it all,
downward and rainy, wet. Okay, so we'll enjoy it while it lasts. Hey, thank you so much for spending part of your morning here with us on the WFMY Facebook page. We do this every day around 7:45. It's called After GMS. We hope to see you here again tomorrow.
take care, everybody. Stay safe.